or agree with or offer to the group? Yes, okay.
Just comment, I have your book.
Yeah.
I bought it last Christmas as a Christmas gift for myself. Started reading it and then got distracted. But when I knew I was coming to this, I started trying to speed through it.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying.
Do you want to use the mic maybe?
I'm okay.
Yeah. No, but others at the back maybe can't hear you. All
right, yeah.
Try and use that, please.
But I bought Sister's book last Christmas in Veritas. Just picked it up by chance and I said I'll treat myself to this. And I had started reading it and then got distracted. But when I knew I was coming here, I was flying through it. And I was saying, oh my God, I mean, this is a Bible for everybody. It gives you the whole kind of overview of the development of the universe. You know, just for, what does they say, computers for dummies or something. But this is like, you know, a fast overview that's simple and it's easy to hold the vast expanse in your mind, for a little while anyway. And then you talked about religions and the role of the mother goddess and all of that, and how that has been killed off, I suppose, really,
Managed a bit anyway,
the power of the mother. And I was wondering then, I wonder if she's still a Catholic and all of that, but after listening to today, and all about Pope Francis and Laudato Si, I don't need to ask the question. You're definitely on the right track. But I think, you know, and your enthusiasm and your energy is just contagious. It's just amazing. And I mean, we all have so much power, but we're not using it at all. We're still waiting for somebody else to do it or to lead the way. And you're such a leader, and I'm hoping you're based in Ireland, that I can get you to come and speak in our parish. That's one thing. But I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Actually confirmed that you're definitely still a Catholic. Yeah. Anybody else got a question?
I concur with what has been said about your presentation. That is wonderful, and I know other bits of what Nellie does, and it's always inspiring. But I just want to mention that from the very beginning, Nellie talked about the challenges, and she mentioned the institutions are collapsing now. I doubt if everybody would agree with you, because people, well, they are in one way, in another way, we're depending on those very institutions. And looking at the arms, I have a thing about the arms race and the arms industry, and I actually believe that a lot of countries in Europe and America definitely, and Russia, they're depending on what the arms industry will bring in terms of revenue. And I don't know how you stem that, except with a change of worldview, and I think that's the biggest challenge for all of us. Because even the income thing is, you know, and commerce. Now, you also mentioned a lovely piece that I think, if we could be convinced, if I could be convinced of it myself, that if we get the commercial world in alignment with the natural world, well, now there's a dream. That's all I can say. Yeah. And it's a dream I'd love to believe in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nellie.
Yeah, thank you.
That's that.
Yeah, what both of you are saying is so true. You know, these are some of the difficulties, but I think that one of the things that I've come to understand, you know, it doesn't actually depend on me, or doesn't depend on any of us. You know, we're kind of instrumental. It's not. How would I put it? One of the things that I've learned through this, and I'm still learning, but I've come some way on it. If we live out of our ego, you know, we're going to keep reacting to situations. Whereas if we live more and more out of our essence, our deeper selves, we're going to respond. And I think responding is such a powerful thing. And that's what's going to change the world, not reacting. And I'm not saying that what I want to say too is that it's fine to be angry and to feel anger. And I mean, I feel very angry about the Amazon and different things. But if I act out of that anger in terms of trying to do something about it, that's not going to work. You know, it's a bit like another example I would give is we talked today about global warming and about, you know, the ice melting and because the temperature's rising and all of this. If I'm trying to respond to that, I need to work first on, if I'm seething, burning up with anger or resentment or judgmentalism or whatever it is. And I suppose one of the things that I always feel these days is the elephant in the room, you know, when you're talking, we always blame Trump for a lot of things. But I want to say this, I don't agree with him at all. But the other part of that is, whether we like it or not, there's a bit of Trump in every one of us. And we have to acknowledge that, and we have to sort of deal with that. So what I'm saying is that unless I'm working on myself and my inner life and trying to be more and more in my essence and living out of that, and I was interested, somebody was worried about me being a Catholic or not. I was wondering, does it matter really in the end? But anyway, you know, if I'm living out of my essence, that sense of that I'm created by God, I'm nurtured by God, I'm loved by God, and it's like one of the things that Jesus reminded us at the Last Supper was, you know, he said to the disciples, make your home in me as I make mine in you. And the more that we can make our home in that essence of God, you know, as God is making God's home in us, then I think we'll be responding to what's around us. And that will be where the change happens. I'm really convinced that that's where the change happens. It's a long journey, and we need each other to help us along this way, because we all fall in between. But it's something I think to work towards, and it's a powerful, powerful instrument in terms of effecting change for the good, for life to flourish.
One last question, anybody? Lady over there, first up.
One of my worries about all this, it's about biodiversity, is how companies are targeting biodiversity, especially patenting the plants. And I think that there is one really simple way, and that is having our gardens and cultivate our own gardens. And recently I bought a house, and my garden is just grass.
Yeah.
And I have no idea on how even to start a bit of biodiversity there. So if you have any tips, or anyone in the room here, I would really appreciate it.
Biodiversity tips.
The first thing I would say is, having your garden, that's biodiversity. That's it. And there's huge life there. I mean, if you were just to look deeply into that, you know, the grass and whatever's there, and then just gradually maybe say a little variety, just like us as humans, we like variety. So do insects and birds, they like variety. Plant a few wildflower seeds or whatever, you know, and it's amazing how that happens. But having the garden, that is biodiversity, and don't underestimate that. And some people think that you have to have it totally cultivated. It's like the lawn has to be totally mown every week or whatever it is. That's against the whole biodiversity thing, because life is there, and we're killing life every time we cut the grass, you know. So it's, and I know you don't want it to get out of hand either, because, you know, to do it in moderation or whatever. But just celebrate the fact that you have a garden. And then you might want a window box, or you might want whatever, you know. But once you let the garden be as it is, and just see what happens, it'll be very interesting. Anybody else want to say anything from their own experience? But I believe that, you know, just let it be. You don't have to do too much, because the life in that soil is fantastic. We don't see it, but it's fantastic.
Thank you.
My wife wants to have the last word.
Okay.
Thank you, Nellie, and I have to say my sense of wonder was renewed and increased listening to your presentation. And I think it is a wonderful word and, well, wonderful. Just to go back to more practical, this year I decided on our little patch of grass in the back garden, I said, we will not cut it, we'll see what happens. And it has grown, and I have been amazed at the variety of what has grown.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, obviously, seeds were brought in, and it is quite, as I said, just the diversity is extraordinary in terms of what is there.
Yes.
And I have to say that one of the things I do enjoy is when there's a breeze in the tall grass.
Yeah.
And just seeing the grass, the tall grass swaying in the breeze.
But it has been an experiment, and the meadow will get cut, I think, in November. But in the meantime, yes, it has been just wonderful to see what has come, really, which was never planted. Seeds came, and so I can recommend it for people to try.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
As a lawnmower, I can also recommend it. This year. I just want to say a quick word.
Just to remember the final word. One of the things I would recommend, in terms of biodiversity, and we all can do this in our own homes, and that is compost. I wouldn't underestimate the value of composting. It's absolutely fantastic. Just keeping aside the refuse food and apple or fruit peels and all of that, the organic waste, and that is fantastic for the soil. It really is. So we're helping to build up the soil by doing that. And you might think it's only a little bucketful every week or whatever it is, but that mounts up, and the ripple effect of that is fantastic. So anything that's life-giving, that helps life. Remember I said about the living systems, anything that helps the soil or the water or the air or whatever, just keep pure and to keep, open and life-giving. That's really fantastic, yeah. So, okay, thank you.